Welcome to the Grow, Create, Sip podcast, where we chat about growing and creating your own herbal medicine from common herbs, as well as how to craft tasty herbal infusions. This podcast is available in all podcast players, along with the video version on YouTube.
Every week, we will take some of your questions as our topic of the week and get you the answers that you are looking for. Feel free to leave questions below this video, or if you are listening, send them to us at howdy@farmhouseteas.com.
So today we have 4 tips for everybody, I guess.
We're going to talk about our 4 tips, our top tips on how to beat inflation.
Inflation?
Yeah, that's on everybody's minds right now.
It seems like it.
Yeah, so I'm Cian.
And I'm Paul.
And welcome to the Grow, Create, Sip podcast. Before we dive into that, we're going to do a little farm update. So what have you been up to this week?
More of the same, different week.
Well, that's not going to make it very exciting for everybody now, is it?
No, just lots more harvesting in the garden, picking vegetables and preserving vegetables and just all
You're
that kind of
stuff. The bean king.
Yeah.
Yeah, the green bean king.
But this time next week, I don't think I will have picked any beans.
Yeah, we're on the last end of the green beans, huh?
Yep, that's about it.
And you picked cucumbers this week, I know, because I need to turn them into pickles once again.
Yep, and I think the plants are still producing, so that'll keep coming.
Yeah, we'll be doing that for a while.
Yep.
And you've still been packing those soap kits.
Yep, there's been a few here and there. We're right on the soap kit introduction or start of the
start of
class.
the challenge. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. It's actually on my list.
Yeah. So that's caused the soap kits to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. So how's it feel to be caught up on that?
You know what's crazy is today, for the first time in over a month, I completely cleared the order queue.
Right.
So that felt pretty good.
Yeah, we've been like a week behind on orders.
Yeah.
Or a week processing time. I wouldn't really say behind. It's just taking that long.
Yep.
So I've pretty much been up to the same thing myself.
Yeah.
So I've been canning green beans. We kind of trade off on that. And that's slowing down. But I've been working on making broth with all of the soup bones out of the freezer.
Yeah.
Because what we did do is we processed some chickens last weekend.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we did do something different. We actually had to leave our garden for a day.
Yep.
And make everything wait, and we processed 42 chickens. And so those ones of ours are in the freezer, but we needed space. So that's causing me to make a bunch of broth and can that and get the soup bones out of the freezer. So.
Yeah, we buy our meat from a butcher. And
we buy half our whole animals at a time, and so we always have the extras, which is great because I don't have to buy any pre-made broth. We make it all. So
we got a nice bunch of broth on the shelf.
Yep, lots of broth for winter. It would be great.
Yep.
And so canning and then fermenting cucumbers and then dehydrating tomatoes for sauce, and just kind of doing that every day.
Yeah, that reminds me.
Look the same.
There's a load of tomatoes in the dehydrator right now that are done that need to come out.
Pull those out, and we probably have some ready to go in there now. So.
Yep.
And trying to prune tomatoes. You know, when we prune tomatoes, they just like to bush out again. I think I've pruned these tomatoes 6 times. And I don't know how much they conceive the ones behind us, but I haven't really got to those. But I'm trying to get rid of the leaf so that the sun can get to them and ripen up the bazillion green tomatoes that are on here.
That's the theory anyway,
right?
And
we're supposed to get rain, so now I'm worried about splitting. So we'll see. See how it goes. So, all right. So that's pretty much what I've been up to is we're kind of just on repeat here until harvest season is done. We can have homeschooling on autopilot. So we've been doing the short school, and then some days we maybe don't do school with the kids during harvest season and when orders are busy. But when it's slower, other people may not be doing school, like in the summertime,
we're
doing school. So our schedule looks a little different from the normal. It has to work with life, right? We're life schooling. So. So that pretty much covers what we've been up to. Just a quick reminder that we're going to be at the Modern Homesteading Conference in North Idaho in June of 2023. So I'll be speaking. I'm trying to talk myself into that still. I'll be speaking on a stage live about making kombucha. So we're going to talk about things scobies and fizz and mold, hopefully no mold. And while I'm doing that, he's going to be manning the booth, and we're not sure what that booth's going to look like yet. It'll be a little different than what we usually do.
Yeah.
I think without a doubt it'll be entertaining and beautiful. Yeah. He's like, oh no, what project does she have in mind for me now?
I'll just be there.
Yep. So we're going to leave the website below. Tickets are on sale right now. You're going to want to grab those, especially if you're traveling. Stuff is booking up already. So I know we've booked our spot and there weren't too many left. So, and we're a little under a year out.
It seems like these homesteading conventions are becoming quite popular events.
Yes. Yeah. The main one in Virginia was sold out in a month. And there is no overflow for that one. So this will be the first one in the Pacific Northwest. So that's exciting.
And the Virginia show, like the tickets weren't cheap either. And they went like hotcakes.
Yep. Yep. You want to get in there. That education is worth quite a bit, especially live in person when it doesn't happen that way very often.
Yeah. It's fun to meet people that are actually doing what it is that you want to do.
Right. In person.
Yep.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to mention was that we already kind of alluded to the soap making challenge starting in the Homestead kitchen membership, which is ran by Homestead family, Homesteading family. And we're going to put a link to that below. While it's already started, the video content and lessons will be there permanently. And so you can start making soap anytime. So that's the soap kit that we've been packing that has all the supplies to get you going on making your own cold process soap. All right, so let's dive into our 4 tips on beating inflation. We kind of have 2 categories for our tips.
Okay.
So the first one is sort of the simplest one in some ways, at least topic-wise, but maybe not in actually accomplishing.
And what's that?
So being debt-free.
Okay. Yep.
So we have been working at being debt-free for a long time. I'm counting like 13 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 13 years. So we are currently debt-free on everything except for the house. That includes our business. Not too many businesses run debt-free.
Not too many.
Yeah. So becoming debt-free has really been a journey for us, and we haven't finished it quite yet because we have that one, just the house left that we're working on.
That's our goal. We got to get that house cleaned up.
And it's a lot closer than we probably think it is. So.
Yeah, so we're trying to keep focused on that and see it all the way through to the end.
So the way that helps us beat inflation, though,
right,
is that we don't have those debts to service.
Yes.
So the need of a larger income is less.
Right,
because we don't have those debts that we have to pay. That means less bills for us. So imagine if you didn't have any debt, how much more income would you have?
Right. I think this is the part of the topic that I found to be surprising to me even, and I'm even debt averse, is that when you finally get rid of those debts, all of a sudden there's a sense of freedom because now there's a lot more money staying in your bank account versus going out.
Right. There's a reason Dave Ramsey calls it a snowball.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's because it might start out really small, like that tiny snowball you're going to pick up and throw at someone, but eventually it turns into a snowman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And suddenly you find that you can do a lot of things that you couldn't do before because now you're able you got cash to work with.
So, for example, when we first paid off like our smaller debts, other than the house, we had done 2 adoptions, but we used debt for those. And then we rolled it into a house, which, just turned adoptions into a 30-year payment. So we've done stupid with zeros on the end, as Dave Ramsey would say. But when we decided to sell that house and pay all that off, and we decided we were never going to debt again, we cut up our credit cards. We have not had a credit card for 14 years. We run a business without a credit card. We've traveled internationally without a credit card. We've not borrowed money in any sort of sense of the word. in 14 years. But when we paid all of that initial stuff off, we sold our house and we moved into a rental. We went from 3 acres in the country to a rental on a main street that was probably at least half the size of the house that we sold.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we adopted a 3rd time, but we paid cash for that one.
Yep.
Yep. And so we had no adoption debt hanging over our heads. We had no debt at that point. We were actually debt free because we didn't own a house.
Right.
Yep. And we started paying cash for things like a minivan
Mm-hmm.
and a washer and a dryer. You know, these are items that can really ruin a budget if you need to replace things like that when you have debt.
Right.
Yeah, so we had no car loans. We had no student loans. So those little things kind of just snowballed into us being able to buy this farm. And while we do have a mortgage for it, is very tiny, and we will not be paying on it for 30 years.
Right.
Yeah. So we took out a 15 on it, and we are a few years away from paying that off. So
Yeah.
we will pretty soon be back to being all the way debt free again. And we also paid for a 4th adoption with cash.
Yes.
Yep. So, and that 3rd adoption involved international travel on cash also. So it wasn't just some fees. It was, you know, the equivalent of an European vacation without the fun parts. It was more business than travel. Although we did go to Rome then.
Yes.
So we did get a little visiting in.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So that's debt.
Yeah.
What else can we do about inflation?
all right, so some other ways to control the outgo. We talked about paying off debt, so you have less going out. We also can have more coming in that way too, because now it's not going out.
Mm-hmm.
Your income just grew, but we'll talk more about growing your income here in a bit. But controlling the outgo, one of my big tips is to grow your own food. So there's 2 parts to growing food, I think, that helps fight inflation. One is just cutting out all the middle people. So we have some experience with that in the business side of things, and understanding what all that equates to is that the person that grows the green beans has to do quite a bit to get it to market.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not just growing it, but, you know, on the shorter end of things, you're getting those at a farm stand, or you're getting them at a farmer's market. But on the long end, it goes through 3, maybe 4 hands before it makes it, you know, to you, depending on what stage you buy it in. If you're buying canned green beans at the store or frozen beans, you know, you have the farmer that has a marketer, distributor, and then you have the grocery store, and probably in there you have the processing plant. And, you know, some of that comes from overseas.
So what you're saying is, when the bean, from the time the bean gets grown till it makes it to your plate, it goes through different hands, and everybody that touches it adds a markup to it.
The supply chain, right. Yeah, each of those people have to make money to do the job that they do. So your price just keeps going up. So if you cut out all those people when you're growing your food, you know, and you make your own tomato sauce, I dehydrate it, don't can it.
Mm-hmm.
Just saves you another step and some more costs because you don't have to buy jars. But you can your green beans, you can your tomatoes, you make crackers from scratch, you make your own bread, you cut out all those things. A lot of packaging cost, a lot of fuel expense in getting it from one place to the other. So the more local you can eat and the more you can grow yourself and process yourself, you save all that money.
And this kind of sounds like, to me, like a lot of DIY type things. Like, you can save a lot of money by doing it yourself.
Right.
Whether it's, you know, doing some building or working on your car when it needs maintenance, or
right.
all that kind of stuff, maintenance in your house. If you can do that kind of stuff yourself,
right.
it
You
saves
save
you a
all
lot
that
of money.
Yeah. So the other thing about bringing it home local is that fuel cost, and we've all seen what fuel prices have done in the last 12 months. And well, you know, for our business, we haven't seen the price of product go up. We've seen the price of shipping go up because of the fuel, and that just gets added to the product because it has to be covered somewhere, and it's gone up so dramatically. that it really does have to be covered. It's not something that most companies are able to absorb. So, the more local you can get your stuff, and the more DIY you can do, the prices on all of your stuff will go down.
Yep.
So, in line with that, not just food, but medicine. So medicine can be really expensive. I mean, especially if you're talking pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Because they're highly processed, usually in a laboratory, and it just involves a lot of people, a lot of processes. A lot of those are petroleum related in some way.
And there's it's not a lot, there's a few CEOs that need big bonuses too.
Right. So the petroleum prices are going to make the pharmaceuticals go up, just as, pertaining to the cost factor of that. But if you can grow your own medicine, then you're cutting out all of that price fluctuation. You're, getting all the benefits you're getting of growing your own food, but you're also going to limit how much medicine you need, because you're going to do a lot of preventing ever getting to that point. And then, some of these things that we grow in huge abundance. So even if you're buying a plant start, like let's say a lemon verbena plant. If you saw our latest video on lemon verbena, you can see I have plenty of that. Well, that's not really a highly medicinal plant, like say sage or echinacea or something. You can grow a lot more wherever you are for your own needs, and you probably would be surprised at the abundance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get like 100-fold out of one plant.
Right. So if you're interested in more of growing your own medicine, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes, or hop on over to growcreatesip.com and click on podcast. And this is episode number 5.
And I would mention on there too, like, you'd be surprised at the number of different plants that are just simple, practical home herbal remedies.
Dandelions, for example. I mean, everybody has those in their yard, right? That'll vary depending on where you live, but things like plantain, chamomile sometimes is wild. You probably have medicine in your yard and you probably don't know it.
Yeah.
So another way you could save on medicine is not just growing your own plant. I mean, the further back you can go, the better. But even if you bought it already dehydrated and processed, turning it into a tincture yourself can save a ton of money, right? Think of those ones I just bought.
Yeah.
Because I didn't make them, and they're $40 for it. Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
For 4 ounces.
Yeah.
Was it 4 ounces? And so if you think about how much a bottle of vodka costs, which is what they're distilled in, or what they're infused in,
right?
You can get a lot of vodka for $40. So it would have been really beneficial for me to make those myself. I mean, at some point you don't have all the time for all the things, but the more of those you can do, the easier inflation will be on your budget.
Yep.
So, and that could be, making tinctures or making salves, blending your own tea, buying in bulk, the herbs that you need and use a lot. All of that can save and help you beat that inflation.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So we have one more, and we've had a couple of questions about this and requests for us sharing how people can have a business like ours. So that kind of...
How does that tie into inflation?
Well, it builds in, because not only are we trying to cut back and make our budget work better for us, but increasing the amount of income will also lessen the blow of inflation.
Right. As prices are going up all around you, you need more money to buy the things that you are accustomed
bigger
to buying.
shovel. Yeah. Yeah, because if everything's going up, at some point, a stationary income. Yeah, fixed. So at some point, your shovel just needs to be bigger. Maybe you're on a fixed income. Maybe your opportunity to move jobs is difficult.
Limited.
Yeah. Although this is an employee's market and there are lots of jobs out there.
Yeah.
So that might just be another option, is to look in the area that you already work in and then see if someone's paying more.
Or just ask your boss for a raise.
Yeah. You never know. A good boss would do that, right?
Yeah.
We just heard that Dave Ramsey at Ramsey Solutions gave his employees a 14% inflationary raise.
Wow.
So I don't know how common that is, but yeah. But
how does that tie into us and our business?
right. So starting a side gig or your own business allows you to control how big your shovel is. Right.
Make more money if you need to.
Right, because you're not capped at that income that you get every month or week that's set by your boss. Because now you're your boss.
Yes.
Right, boss?
Yes. Yes, well, when you work a job, and I've worked a job, I've worked many jobs, you sign on for a certain amount of money, and that doesn't change usually more than once a year unless you take a promotion or something.
Right, and then it's going to be usually small, like 3%.
Yeah.
If you're lucky. I mean, some people don't get any kind of a raise or anything.
And so the advantage to having your own business is if you have a good business, you know that if you work harder, you will make more money.
Right, you can grow the business.
Yeah.
Whereas it's harder to grow your income working for somebody else.
Yeah, because it's fixed by your employer.
Yeah. So, and maybe not work harder, but just smarter. And you know that you have an effect on what that number is.
Yeah, the outcome is directly affected by your activity or your efforts.
Right.
Well, for example, I've read that there's quite a large gig economy out there. People doing whatever their skill they have on the side that brings them in extra money. And you don't have to necessarily have a corporation or an LLC or be in a partnership or a sole proprietorship. You could do contract work.
So some examples might be what?
Maybe you're a musician. That's an easy one.
Well, that's the first thing I thought of when you said gig, but I was thinking maybe you had some other things in the background.
No, there's a lot of other...
Mowing lawns? Is that a skill?
Yeah, it takes some skill to mow some lawn.
Some landscaping side business. No, you said gigs though. I was thinking more crafty.
Right. Well, there's a lot of that too.
Talent.
Like somebody who might be in the advertising space or in the social media management type space, right?
What about a personal chef?
Personal chef, that might be something. Maybe you do barbecues on the weekend.
Yeah. Hey, there's people that do that. Food truck. We know you love food trucks.
How about photography?
Yep, photography. Yep. Personal assistants, executive assistants.
Yep.
Website design. There's lots of digital stuff that could be done right from home where you wouldn't have to leave. If you're crafty, like sewing or baking bread, those DIY things that people aren't doing, you could do those and then make money off of those. So anything you're doing at home, you could certainly do as a business.
Yeah, any skill you have or hobby you have that you're good at that you could potentially market, those are all ways to increase your income and beat inflation.
Right. And I want to invite all of our listeners and our viewers that if you are into writing blog posts, if you have a social media following, whether that be on Facebook or Instagram, or if you have a YouTube channel and you have a large following of people, I want to invite you to check out the link down below for our affiliate program.
There's another way to earn income.
And yeah, you get paid to share tea and herbs and all the things that we do. And so if that's something that would fit into your audience's genre, then we would love to have you come and apply. So, and I also have a free resource for you if you're starting your own business and you're kind of doing a crafty, handmade DIY thing. We have our Cottage business branding download that teaches you about branding your product and finding your ideal customers so that you can build that business faster.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think that about covers it for us today. We do want to mention this week when this podcast is out that we are having our Elderberry Sale, which is probably one of our biggest, most popular sales is our elderberries.
Speaking of doing it yourself.
Speaking of doing it yourself, medicine.
Yeah, that's a very popular way to handle
elderberries are kind of like chickens. Chickens get people started in homesteading. Elderberries get people started in DIY herbal medicine. Yeah. So elderberries are really great, especially for supporting the immune system. And we also have our Dump and Go Trio on sale, which is what it sounds like. It's a dump the herbs in and you make it and you go and they're ready to use. That's about as simple as it gets when it comes to DIY medicine.
Yeah, they're recipes that are already pre-blended and ready for you to prepare, I guess.
Yeah. So we'll leave the link to that sale down below. If you didn't take notes during this podcast, don't worry, we did that for you. And I'll have the link down below, or head on over to growcreatesip.com and pick podcast episode number 5. And we will have all of that down there with all the links that we mentioned in this podcast. So that'll do it for us this week, and we will catch you next time.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.